Next, we'd like to approve the minutes from the May 9th, 2022 County Commission meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Mr. Chairman, I second.
We have a second by Commissioner Jerry Emerson. Any discussion about the minutes? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next, we'll move on to the approving the budget amendments. First, we'll start with the school system.
Good evening. I know Stacy's provided you a copy of the budget and the budget amendments have already been reviewed by her own board, approved at her last meeting.
I make a motion to approve the budget. Second.
We have a motion approved by Commissioner Tim Crow and a second by Commissioner Todd Lewis. Would there be any discussion of the budget amendment?
This is just a general purpose. You'll do the others separately. Or is this
Either way, we kind of labor over that point, but they can be either way. We can separate the two or do it together. We do have,
What was your intention?
My motion to approve all of them again.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
thank you.
Next, we have up the highway department.
If I get something, I'll do it. I just got to do this. First, we play that, topics, and now we'll figure out that. My hair goes to the chair. $7,099 mistake. So we did it when I bundled it. On thousand on my wood problem. $7,660. Second, just read that here. We know the same thing that we put that money out, crushed over, 164, 16,275, or 48,907.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion approved by Commissioner Al McKenna.
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Ann Moore. Any more discussion about the budget amendments for the highway? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have county general.
Good evening. Everybody get up.
We entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the county general.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jerry Emerson.
I second.
Have a second by Commissioner Carolyn Higgins. Any more discussion about the budget amendments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You just said county general, there's library, solid waste, did you mean to deal with? We need to verify that.
Yeah, this was just county general.
Okay.
You want to put all the rest of them together, that's fine.
It's always the library.
Now, that motion was for county general. Now we are on to solid waste department.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Tim Crowe,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ms. Sandra Hyer.
Now, again, did we get clarification? Is that the rest of the funds?
I'm looking at the agenda, and it says county general, solid waste, library, fire department. I'm making a motion for solid waste. I've got that.
Okay.
What the agenda says.
So you're on solid waste now?
Yes. We have a motion and a second for the budget amendments of solid waste. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have discussion. That was Tim and who?
Sandra Hires.
Tim
Ms. Diane.
Ms. Hall.
and Sandra Hyer. No further discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next, we have the library.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Ann Moore. Commissioner Ann Moore.
I second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Andrea Holland. Any discussion about the library amendment?
Do note that it's coming from the fund balance, but it's coming back, right? What's noted here?
Yeah. Well, I think all of those are, most everything on there is related to grants. We have to pay out first and then we'll be done back.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next, we have the fire department.
First of all, a couple of announcements. Between July 1st, we'll say 2nd, till the end of August, anybody living on the west, south, and north ends where we have fire hydrants, this is for y'all too. If your water gets a little tingy or brown, that's to be expected because we have to flush and test the hydrants per ISO ratings. So it's not the city doing it or Summer Water or JEA doing it. We have to do it per the fire department for part of our ISO rating, and that's carried out every year. So just be aware, if you get a little tingy water, it's going right. All right. Second thing, the new brush truck came in, it's in service at the fire department now. We got 2 more yet to go. But I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for your support for the fire department and purchase of the brush trucks and the sanity that was well needed. And that will also help our ISO rating in 2 years. So other than that, any questions for me? Thank you very much.
And next, we have any other budget amendments which pertain to the drug fund, debt service.
Make a motion to approve the drug fund and the debt service.
Second,
We have a motion by Commissioner Tim Crowe to approve the drug fund and the debt service. We have a second by Commissioner Jerry Emerson. Any discussion about those funds? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next, into the budget, the resolution for fixing the tax rate / levy for the Chester County for the year 2022, 2023, and I will read them.
Mr. Chairman, would it be out of order if we just waited till we approved all in, and didn't set the tax rate?
I was just going about the way it
Okay.
beside this first one, the rest of them will start in the front of your budget, and we'll just go through it. This one, because of the tax rate and the tax levy being, Mr. Kelson told me really the same thing, because it sets the rate. The rate being 2.0369, and the percentages, like for county general, 1.4115. This being in the budget on
Third page.
about the 7th page, it states about the resolution for fixing tax levy. And the highway and public works at .0164, and the general debt service at .0164, and the general purpose schools at .5926. That totals to 2.0369 as the tax rate. We'd like a motion to approve the tax rate and the levy.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Tim Crowe. Second by Commissioner Terry Bell. Any discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call.
Johnny Carter,
Yes.
Jerry Love,
Yes.
Kevin Faulkner. Yes. Al McKinnon,
Yes.
Andrea Holland,
Yes.
Jackie Butler,
Yes.
Ann Moore,
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Jerry Emerson,
Yes.
Sandy Myers,
Yes.
Larry Smith,
Yes.
Tim Crowe,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Alexander,
Yes.
Terry Bell,
Yes.
Todd Lewis,
Yes.
16-4.
Next on the agenda, we have approved the resolution for the use of ARPA funds, which is the American Rescue Plan Act, funds to pay expenses for the county general service dating back to 3/3/2021. And to explain what this is, we have our CTAS representative, Mr. Kelsey Swisher. If he would come up, I believe he can explain, and if you have any questions at this time, he can be able to answer.
Good evening. Mayor Shevin, I'm Kelsey Schweitzer. I work with the consultant for Chester County for the County Technical Assistance Service. So I kind of wanted to just give you a brief overview of what the American Rescue Plan Act expenditures can be used for. So previously, when the interim final rule came out, that was in March of 21, we were very limited in what we could spend money for. It had to be certain uses under that. They came out and actually issued the final rule in January of 2022. That greatly expanded the ability to use that funding. The biggest change of that was they allowed anybody that had less than $10 million in total allocation. So if you received less than $10 million in funding, you could use every bit of that as what they call lost revenue. That doesn't mean you had to have actually lost revenue due to the pandemic, but you can claim up to $10 million in lost revenue. We can use that lost revenue for any provision of government service. So any service that the government is normally authorized to provide, education, highways, general revenue administration, public safety, all of those things would qualify. So kind of what the comptroller's office has recommended, and what we at CTAS have been recommending, is all of our smaller governments, 64 of the 95 counties in the state of Tennessee can claim their entire allocation of the Rescue Plan Act funds as lost revenue. We've been recommending for simplification of administrative purposes, reporting purposes, for use purposes, that everybody claimed their entire allocation as lost revenue, which therefore gets rid of a lot of the administrative burden rather for reporting and allows you guys to spend that much more freely. Now, you can still use that for those original provisions. If you wanted to expand broadband, if you wanted to expand water and sewer projects, if you wanted to give premium pay or do things to respond to COVID mitigation, things of that nature, the things that were under the original rule, you can still do that, but it also allows you to do things that were not directly authorized within that internal fund rule. So it kind of just expands that flexibility and freedom. Not in this resolution, what you're doing is saying we as a county are electing to take our entire allocation as lost revenue and transfer that to the general fund, and we're kind of going to fill out what we want to do with that in future years. It kind of gets rid of your timeline for reporting as well, because under the interim final rule and under the final rule, you have to have all the Rescue Plan Act funding spent by the end of 2026. It has to be obligated by the end of 2024, spent by 2026. By claiming it as lost revenue and using it for general government services, you get rid of that timeline. There's no longer that administrative burden. So any questions, I'm happy to try and answer those.
To simplify, I know the commission has done it, Jackson has done it. So basically, this governing body, they pass this resolution, they look at the fund balance, and there's X amount of dollars in there. And they say, we want to keep, we don't want to go below this X amount, so this money up here, basically now we can use whatever we want. If we want to, any of these projects that's been presented to us, we can still fund them if we chose.
Yes.
Basically, what it's done is to simplify the red tape of the federal government.
Yes, there's
So all these things that we've lost millions and millions of dollars, and we're trying to do that. That's not what this resolution is doing. It's just taking away the red tape, and that money is still sitting there. It can be used if we wanted to use it for DCU. We want to use it for the election commission. If we want to use it for UT, that money is still there.
Yes.
And anything that's in the fund balance, it would have to take this commission to vote to approve and spend that money. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The commission still controls the expenditure. So regardless of where that money is appropriated to, whether it's nonprofits, whether it's the various, one-time capital need projects, the commission still controls every appropriation that takes place.
So we will have to report every dime that's spent?
No, so what you will do, whoever the reporting, the person is for this entity, I don't know who has that responsibility on U.S. Treasury, but they will get on U.S. Treasury and they will report that we are using this money for general government services from 2021 forward up until the point that it's exhausted. So if you have, I think Chester County's allocation is just below $3.5 million in total. So they'll say, okay, at what point have we spent $3.5 million on general government services? It's been exhausted, therefore, like he was saying, that money just basically goes to replace what's in your general fund, and you get to choose how you want to spend that without those restrictions. Because previously, every time you had a special project, whether it's premium pay, whether it was water sewer project, whatever it was, somebody had to get on the U.S. Treasury's website and jump into hoops and go, we used this for this project, here's all the things right here that we had to go through, here's our documentation, we're sending you, we get rid of every bit of that.
Council, we can also, if we pass this, put that money in a reserve account.
You guys can commit the funding, the commission has the ability to commit any type of funding.
I make a motion that we approve the resolution to use the American Recovery Plan Act funds to pay for the lost revenue from years, let's say, dating back to March the 3rd, 2021. And to add to that, that it be placed in a reserve so we can know where that money is and when we're bringing it out.
Could someone just show me and tell me where the lost revenue is? And without this COVID money being put into the budget, how much short would the budget be? Without the COVID money, where would we be standing without it?
So you're saying if the influx of the Rescue Plan Act funding were pulled out of the general fund, what would it look like?
I've been trying to look at it, and I'm trying to figure out where the lost revenue is.
Well, that was kind of one of the confusing things about the American Rescue Plan Act is that you didn't actually have to have lost revenue to claim lost revenue. They used a really complicated formula to project what your revenue should have been based on that criteria, you were able to say, we didn't lose real money, we lost what would have been real money. Kind of, if you look at it from the stock market standpoint, if my 401k hadn't kept going down for the last 1.5 or 2 months, I would have made more money. It's a projection based on that. So in this case, you didn't have to lose real money. Your sales tax didn't have to go down for you to qualify. And when they issued the final rule in January, they actually said that their complicated formula that they had in place, you don't even have to use that. If you've received less than $10 million, you can claim every bit of it as lost revenue without ever having to go through a formula. So you guys didn't lose real revenue, but you're able to claim that Rescue Plan Act funding as if you did, if that makes sense.
Okay, after this COVID money, or whatever you want to call it, was put into the budget, and I guess you can spend it any way you want to pay debts, bills, anything you want to do. Is that right?
If you're claiming it as lost revenue and using it for general government services, yes, sir.
And then, after all this money is gone, and we may have to spend it all, is that just a quick fix? Is it gonna have to come to, some other way to raise money after we spend all this? I mean, it seems like a lot of money, but without that being into the budget, we're gonna be something like $1 million short, the way I see it.
Can I do something?
I may be wrong,
But
but
I don't go far. If you look on page, and I sure hope this is.
I'm on page 3 right now, what you said.
Okay, I want to go to page. Page 3 in the county general budget. It's for the end of the revenue section. Can you hear me okay? You see the $3.3 million in the proposed revenue right here.
$3,559,739.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, that's it. Okay, so that's the ARPA money. Now, if you come back and look on page 14, and this has been a lot of confusion, I've heard a lot of discussion about this. If you look at the bottom of the page, you see a fund balance of $5,344,729.
Where's that now?
That's on the bottom of page 14.
That's the end of fund balance.
Yes, sir. All right, so if you look at that figure, if you take out the ARPA money, which is in part of that, if you take out the 3.3 million, you're going to be left with 1.984 million,
That's
almost $2 million.
If you take out the COVID money.
Yes, sir.
That
So-
fund balance will drop down to $2 million and some odd money.
Yes.
Take that CD out.
So I'll get to that. So let's stay there. We're going to take the $3 million out
Right.
of the ARPA.
And we've allocated $270,000 of money already.
Okay. Remind me that. So we take that out, we're left with almost $2 million.
Right.
Okay. The $885,000 that's in parentheses, that if I look at this, it would make me think, okay, that's negative, but it's not. It's what's left of that $1 million nursing home CD.
Right.
And years ago, whenever it was, the county commission wanted to put that in the reserve.
Yes.
So Judy just set it aside and decorated it with parentheses to let you know it's in a reserve, it's on the side, it's there if you need it. We can use that money for anything that we need to use it for.
I understood that we were to use that money to pay for the ambulance building down here. We borrowed against it, though, where we borrowed, like $1 million to build that ambulance building down there and use this as some kind of collateral where our interest rate on this $885,000 is like 1 point so-and-so. You could borrow the money to build the building with for 2 point something, and that brought the interest rate down to 1 something.
Oh,
And that's the way to explain it.
We didn't use it as collateral, we just borrowed the money and used and continued the wheel tax that's been on there since the 70s.
That's the way we did it, I mean.
That's He says that we actually did not borrow it as, or use it as collateral. So that is just money that's sitting there and in a reserve account, you might say.
Exactly. And then that was to save us by going with West Tennessee Healthcare. It was costing us on average around $220,000 a year paying for ambulance service. That goes away. So we still got to pay this money back with the money that goes away, the way I understood it. The money that we're paying, $220,000 a year for ambulance service, goes towards the debt of the ambulance bill.
That's the wheel tax.
Is that correct?
Wheel tax money, yes.
So when this $3 million is spent, we're being more.
Well,
Because
it's going to be
it's
spent.
still short.
It's going to be spent as the county commission sees fit. But even if you take that $3 million out, your ending, your true ending balance, fund balance is going to be around 1.9 million.
Right.
What audit requires us to have on hand at all times is basically 3 months of operating expenses, which total, I think, about 1.7 million. So even if you do take that ARPA money out, you still got almost a $2 million fund balance. Okay, and then the $4 million down at the bottom, that's effective about the $800,000 million that is still available for us to use. So I don't know if that's answering any of your questions.
Well, the sad part of it is, expenses exceed revenues by $1 million out the ARPA. Our expenses in the general fund exceed the revenues in the general fund by about $1 million without the ARPA money. Yeah, take a look at it. Look at revenue, then look at expenses. $8,400,000 in expenses, $7 million in revenue. That's a bad trend. Is that not true?
That's my understanding of the budget, that is correct. You have about 3.5 in the American Rescue Plan Act funding. You have a total budget surplus in the general fund of about 2.3 billion.
We're going down $1 million.
Yes, sir.
And we didn't cut expenses. We hadn't raised taxes, thankfully. But we can't continue that. That's sinking about ship.
But within that $1 million that we supposedly gone down, we've had governor's grants, we've had other state money that we've used. That's probably, I can't say for sure, that it's probably in those figures.
Well, I mean, you just take the ARPA money out, expenses exceed revenues by $1 million. And you do this 2 to 3 years in a row, we ain't got nothing. And we've got to stop spending more. We've got things, we're increasing expenses in the general fund without any revenue.
Is the new, revenue from the people moving in and
That's in there.
the growth in there?
It's included.
Understand what I'm saying, we're eating into the fund balance.
We're eating into $1 million a year. That's the problem. And you throw the ARPA money in just to cover it. In a couple of years, you ain't got the ARPA money, and then you're gonna have to raise taxes. You kick the can down the road, the can just gets bigger. So, that's where we are.
Terry, Commissioner Bell, would you restate your motion?
Regardless, what I have, if we approve the resolution of taking the ARPA money, and as he described in regard to lost revenue, not just put it in the general fund, but as Mr. Smith said, if we put it in the reserve, so we know we're capping that money, and we're capping it. And it has to be something that we're notified. It's not just pulled out of the general fund. Lose track.
move that money into the general fund, does it have to be done now?
I have a question. Why would we not do it? Why do we not want to do that?
If you pass the resolution to do this, you're just taking away the red tape, then we can argue this and ask what we're gonna do.
And my motion puts it in
Because
reserve.
nobody's gonna get spent without this being approved.
No money gets spent, no money gets spent without the commission.
Right.
Ever.
Clearly, at some point,
Yeah,
the bills coming out, what we've already appropriated, to the health department and this,
About 270,000.
yeah, obviously, we'll have to move some to pay for that, we've already operated.
we've already allocated some.
But the rest of it, could leave the reserve line one. It'll probably be after I'm long gone. I'll do it
But you, now, Commissioner Cruz, that spending bill. Commissioner Smith, the only thing I can think of on page 2, under state Tennessee, some page, under 46,990, so that's 795,000, part of the governor's money, or something from the state, that the guy, 397,000.
And that last year's revenue.
And then 397 for this year.
There's nothing going across there for this year.
All right, Commissioner Bill, would you restate your motion?
I'll say it one more time, I think you're looking for a second. I make a motion to approve a resolution stating that our ARPA funds be placed into reserve as a result of the lost revenue since March 3rd was 2021. It be placed in reserve. Specifically, I'm saying that. What Commissioner Smith has said, so it's clear to this commission that you're taking money out of our funds. It's not just another run-of-the-mill, we're gonna pull it out of fund balance here. It needs to be clear that we're crossing that line.
All right, we have a motion.
Back to page 3.
I second.
Where we have the total estimated revenues. With the COVID money, it's $10,750,323. Without the COVID money, it's $7,390,000. And I'm back over here on 14, with total estimated expenditures, it's $8,401,000. So that's like $1 million.
Yes, sir, that's
Sure.
I think that's the same thing that Commissioner Smith did. Yes, sir.
So that COVID money goes in there, and that brings it up
Yes, sir.
to the figure.
Yes, sir.
And then, all this COVID money we're gonna do projects with and stuff like that goes away then.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it goes into your general fund, and you all as a commission decide on what projects you want to fund. If you want to use it for general government expenditures, if you want to use it to operate the things that you normally do, you have that ability. You can also use it for one-time projects.
If there's any money left there, you go pay all these debts and stuff, you know, I mean, that's what it's saying, what was put in the budget to start with, was to balance the budget before they could pay, leave some debt back as far as 3/3/21 back to that point. When the COVID actually started and stuff like that. That's where the lost revenue evidently was coming from.
So that is the date, March 3rd of 2021 is when Congress passed the American Rescue Plan Act. That's why we go back to that date specifically.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any debts that you all have incurred as it relates to COVID specifically. I'm not aware of any obligations that will be coming to you from that point. The lost revenue perspective is basically to say there were, outside of Tennessee, if you look, across the nation, there's a lot of governments that are funded in a lot of different ways, other than the majority of the way that we are, which is property tax and sales tax. There's income tax and lots of other taxes that, as COVID occurred, people's incomes went down, and tax revenue that they generated actually went down. We in Tennessee are pretty fiscally stable. We have a source of revenue that is pretty fiscally stable, especially as stimulus checks went out, people started spending those, sales tax went up. Most of our governments in Tennessee actually saw an increase in revenue during COVID. We didn't see a decrease in revenue. But that's not the case across the nation. This Rescue Plan Act funding was given to every county and to every municipality over a certain size in every state in the whole nation. So for us, we look at this lost revenue and say we really didn't have lost revenue, and it allows us to do those one-time projects. It allows us to do water, sewer, broadband, give to nonprofits, all of those types of things. There are other cities and other states that they're having to utilize this funding to legitimately replace lost revenue and provide more services that they couldn't provide if they wouldn't have it. They wouldn't be able to have staffed their jails, and public safety, kept the schools afloat, and the highway department working. They would have had issues. So for us in Tennessee, it was a completely different game than for a lot of them. So you shouldn't have, to my knowledge, any obligations coming as it relates to COVID. What you're doing is putting this in the general fund, and then you all are deciding how you want to appropriate that over the next, number of years. That's completely a decision up to you all.
Okay, so the way I see it, we'll have to take at least $1 million of that COVID money, let them start to balance everything out.
So what you're saying is basically because we have a deficit budget minus the Rescue Plan Act funding, it's going to have $1 million reduction. In theory, that would be correct. If we're putting it in that reserve account, then it wouldn't actually be a reduction of the Rescue Plan Act funding. It would be a reduction of unassigned fund balance.
Yeah.
So it's a loss of $1 million, but it's not necessarily from Rescue Plan Act funding. It's going to be from unassigned fund balance.
Okay, you don't want me to read that motion again? Got a motion and a second. He asked you to read it.
Go ahead, just for clarification, read it one more time, and we have a second by Ms. Diane.
Okay. Motion to approve resolution to use ARPA funds to pay expenses for general government services dating back to 3/3/21. That just gets us to use the money. The second part of that is, and that the ARPA funds are placed in a reserve account.
Not the general fund. Not
Well, it'll still be in the general fund, but a reserve. Gotta go back.
We have a motion and a second.
Judy's ready.
All right, Ms. Judy.
The reason we have to put this money in county general is that's where the loss came from. We, as far as the federal people are concerned, all they're concerned with is the loss. We have to put it in county general because that's where our loss was at. After we put it in county general, it becomes local revenue and you can do whatever you want to with the money. But if you don't put it in county general and show where we show the loss at, then we'll be in violation. We can't just put it somewhere in another fund, because that's where we had the loss. That's where we suffered the payroll loss, and paying people while they were off with COVID. That was a law. We had to do that when maybe they didn't have the time to do that, or they didn't have the sick days to do that. It was a law that we paid them to be off of work. I think it was 14 days. 14 days for every person that had COVID, and at one time to take care of somebody that had COVID in the family. So that's where our greatest loss was suffered, was in the county general fund. So that's why the money is going into the fund, because that's where we're showing our loss from. If we don't put it in the county general, it's violating, what we're saying. So after that, it becomes local funds, and you can do whatever you please with it. You can transfer it to anything you want to, or pay anything you want to out of it. Does that help? Okay.
Clarify, is my motion to put it in the reserve, is that not still in the general fund?
That is in it, yes, it's in the general fund, and you can ask for that to be put in a reserve account, and as needed, use as needed, or wording, yes. That's fine.
So we'll ask for roll call, please.
Yes.
Ann Moore,
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Jerry Emerson,
Yes.
Sandra Hires,
Yes.
Barry Smith,
Yes.
Tim Crow,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Alexander,
Yes.
Terry Bell,
Yes.
Todd Lewis,
Yes.
16.
Next on the agenda, we have the resolution for making appropriations for various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Chester County.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve resolutions.
Can we get a little clarification of exactly what that is saying?
Starting at the resolution in the budget there, it says making appropriation for various funds. It lists each fund right here, all the way down. And for the next few pages. In each section there, it explains what it is. That is the various funds in the budget and separate departments. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Tim Crowe.
I second.
We have a second by Commissioner Andrea Holland. Any more discussion? These funds are the same as they are each year. Roll call, please.
Johnny Garner,
Yes.
Jerry Love,
Yes.
Kevin Faulkner,
Yes.
Al McKinnon,
Yes.
Andrea Holland,
Yes.
Jackie Butler,
Yes.
Ann Moore,
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Jerry Emerson,
Yes.
Sandra Hires,
Yes.
Barry Smith,
Yes.
Tim Crow,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Alexander,
Yes.
Terry Bell,
Yes.
Todd Lewis,
Yes.
16-4.
Next, we have the resolution for charitable contributions. And they are also listed in the next page after the tax levy in your budgets. All the charitable organizations and nonprofits are listed there on the page.
No new ones were added to the budget this year.
So these are the same, huh?
They just, that.
They're all the same amounts.
The only thing that changed was it was a $2,500 increase to the senior citizen. That's something we talked about a few years ago, was adding $2,500 a year. And this was the last year for that. So this would be the most, unless the commission wanted to get more, but that's the only addition, would be $2,500 for the senior citizen. Everything else is exactly the same. And I think some of these are awash with fine money, correct?
Yes.
So this total, not all is general money, some of it is generated through fine money made through justice.
Justice office, yes.
So that's the only change, $2,500.
Thank you.
No problem.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Al McKinnon.
I second it.
We have a second by Commissioner Jerry Emerson. Any more discussion about the appropriations for the nonprofit charitable organization? If not, roll call, please.
Johnny Garner,
Yes.
Jerry Love, Kevin Faulkner,
Yes.
Al McKinnon,
Yes.
Andrea Holland,
Yes.
Jackie Butler,
Yes.
Ann Moore,
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Jerry Emerson,
Yes.
Sandra Hires,
Yes.
Joseph Malera, Barry Smith,
Yes.
Tim Crow,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Alexander,
Yes.
Terry Bell,
Yes.
Todd Lewis, 16.
Next on the agenda, we have the resolution for funding the Chester County Volunteer Fire Department.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Tim Crowe, a second by Commissioner Al McKinnon. Any discussion about funding the fire department? If not, roll call, please.
Johnny Garner.
Yes.
Jerry Lowe.
Yeah.
Kevin Faulkner.
Yes.
Al McKinnon. Yes. Andrea Hollis. Jackie Butler.
Yes.
Ann Moore.
Yes.
Carolyn Heath.
Yes.
Jerry Emerson.
Yes.
Sandra Hyer.
Yes.
Barry Smith.
Yes.
Tim Crowe.
Yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Mike Alexander.
Yes.
Terry Bell.
Yes.
Don Lewis. Yes. 16-4.
Next on the agenda, we have approval for the county general budget.
This is the one that's out of balance.
Ms. Judy?
Let me say about the county general budget, there is some revenue that and it goes with the sheriff's department here. He started keeping federal prisoners. We're not exactly sure, it's an estimate of what we get. It's on the lean side of the estimate. We will be getting more money in than what's stated in that budget, but we didn't want to overstate it because we weren't sure of what was going to be in there. But there would be somewhere to the tune of 500,000 for it. Okay.
We figured it on 5 inmates, average 5 federal inmates, and it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $15,000 a month. And we've been told that the Department of Corrections is going to take some more of our state inmates, and if they do that, that could easily go up to, I don't know what, that we can hold all they give us. I mean, all that we can handle, instead of all the population of those things. They pay about, all in all, triple what the state pays.
We did, if I may say, we did figure the revenue stream for him very conservative. We do anticipate that it will be larger, so the revenue should be larger there. We also figured to the code enforcement officers kicking and screaming, we also figured his revenue stream much lower than he thought. But we had much rather come in here and take a beat, be conservative, than we had to come over here and over the check.
Right, because you double dip when you do that. So the revenue has been budgeted very conservatively. It will not, in years again, it will not be that. We're still in almost a $2 million fund balance. That includes your $885,000 you have in the bank, you sell the service on. But you're still nowhere below what the state requires you to have. So, just want y'all to know that.
One other thing, I wish you said $500,000 thing, that's probably total for my state inmates and my federal inmates now. That's still considerably high.
When you say consider high, come out 150,000, 100,000, I know what you guess.
And it's hard to guess that, but we made the contract, we had to actually build the jail, our jail is certified hotel, but they wouldn't give them that contract. So when they started opening up contracts, we wanted in on that, so we got it, but we used to agree to hold 5 inmates because our jail population was high. Because of the fact that Tennessee Department of Corrections wasn't taking in inmates. We would have to hold them off, we told them for 2 or 3 or 4 years at a time, and then here. So now, they open up more prisons and they're more acceptable to take our inmates. So, that being said, we think those we can get as many as 27 inmates if we get our state population down to keep them overcrowded out there. So, with that, you could easily,
Sheriff, if you do that, though, you have to take away from what's projected as state inmate revenue. And we've got $475,000 projected for state inmate revenue. That would go down some if you had to switch out. Federal pays more.
It can go down, but if you just say 10 inmates on the state side, they pay $39 and the feds pay $75. Plus the feds pay for aspirin and all that, the visits, they pay for pretty much everything down line. They pay us in transport for $27 or $8 an hour for our corrections officers to the transport, pay for gas. So yes, I can see what you're saying, you would go down, but the difference in it would more than compensate for what we're looking at the state.
Also, your sales tax is underestimated quite a bit. Our sales tax has improved greatly since internet sales has helped that tremendously, and then these $2 stores is out of the county. It is skyrocketed, but it is a conservative estimate on sales tax.
One more question. Obviously, the budget is laid out as if you spend every penny.
It won't happen.
I'm assuming that will not happen. What is the typical versus if you spend 100% versus we don't spend it all? What is it typically coming in? 95, 98? What's the
Anywhere from 90 to 95%.
usually? There's about typically we got about 5% less
5 to 8% less on expenditures, and then you've got revenue probably somewhere between 10 and 15% more. We'll get more than what was estimated.
only 5% of the total on the expenditure.
I'm sorry, I don't have the budget back in front of me.
It still appears we're giving increases where we don't have revenue to go.
Probably gonna cover about a third of that in what we just talked about.
And you're gonna use some of your fund balance, no doubt, but it won't be $1 million.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't keep budgeting. You know, we're giving people more, and that's good, but we gotta look out for future reckoning. We're headed if we don't control it.
It sounds like we're talking about areas that could happen anytime.
Yep.
The 5.25% COLA for the elected officials, we have no control over.
No,
No,
No.
that's mandated.
We have no control.
not none.
But we have control over the other.
There was $123,345 request for new employees that the budget committee did not approve.
Yes.
There was a request for $37,750 for salary request above and beyond the COLA that we've got in the budget to give to general employees and the COLA for officials. We did not approve that. So there's $161,095 of stuff that the commission, that the committee did not, we didn't approve it. All this stuff, we cut that. And I'm sure some of these people feel like they need those employees. And I guess these people felt like they needed those raises, but we didn't get them. So the budget committee did make cuts.
There are still some raises in there.
There is a 5.25% mandate for the elected officials, and there was a 4% COLA put in for the general employees.
How much of the 4% amount to?
4% equals $97,890.
Yeah.
Make a motion to cut it. The budget committee's thought was, and I get it. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, inflation is high, cost is high. You're gonna give people making $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year, 5.25% raise. That's mandated, and we have absolutely no control over it.
It's an unfunded mandate.
I get it, but the people that's out here making $25,000, $30,000 a year, we're not gonna give them a raise. We're not gonna give them a cost of living. That's less than 0.5% of what the adjustment is on the cost of living payment.
And that's true, Tim, and I hate the sound of that. But then again, are we gonna, for a smaller group of people, go tax a larger group of people down the road here in this country?
All right, here's what about it. The budget committee gets hammered, and I get that. We'll take our licks. But let me explain some stuff to you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with that. County commissioners up through here came to me about the budget committee members and said, we don't get to the election year, we don't want property tax increase. You've got a budget for you that don't have a property tax increase. You would have to have a property tax increase. All right? Some of you have come to me and others have said cut the elected officials' pay. We cannot cut their pay. State law will not allow us to cut their pay. And I know some of you are going to hate me when I'm done here, but I'm just telling the truth. We can't cut their pay. Some of you come to me and said cut out the COLA. We can cut out the COLA. We just felt like we was going to put it in there because these people making $30,000 raise, it's a year is taking it just as hard as one's making $100,000. We can cut it. I promise you, I'm going to go home tonight and I'll sleep. All right? I've heard some of y'all come to me and say, we need to cut some employees out of some of these offices. They got too many employees. Then whenever I asked you which offices have too many employees, well, you know. Now I'm telling you. Tell me. Don't put the burden all on us. Don't put the burden all on us. All right, cut some employees. Okay, we'll do that. North Essex has one employee. We'll cut it. We'll cut Stacy's employee. We'll cut Lance's employee. We'll cut these employees. Then what happens is county government is much different than city government. I worked for city government for 30 years. The mayor of the city board walks in over there and tells the department head, you cut your budget by 25%. The department head's got two options. He cut his budget by 25%, and he say, I'm going to home somebody else can worry about it. These officials have the right to sue us. I'm not saying they would, but they have that right. We have one official right now making a lot of threats to us. So, who do we cut? Tell me, if that's what y'all want to do, if y'all want to fail this budget, I promise you, I'm going to sleep well tonight. Tell me who we're going to cut. Tell me. I'm asking for y'all's advice. All right, the next thing is, if we go back to the drawing board and we make cuts, we cut some stuff last year and the commission put it back in. If we're going to go to battle, we're going to make cuts, then stand with us. So, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I'm not against anybody here. There's nothing in here tonight that hasn't been said. This is not true. I go along with all of it. But you tell us, if you want cuts made, then tell us where. Tell us where. Because we go back and we go after Stacy's office, we go after Lance's office, we go after Beverly, we go after the sheriff. We go to the sheriff and tell him you got to cut some jailers. What's going to happen, sheriff?
They certify the jail.
They certify the jail. We can't cut you jailers. We tell you to cut some deputies, you cut your SROs out, what's going to happen?
You cut that SROs and work, and also don't care too much about kids.
I'm with you. I'm not against y'all. I promise you not. But I'm just trying to point out the realistic of county government. We don't have near as much control as what you think. But I promise you, we will do whatever y'all want to do. I promise you we will. But all we're asking for is tell us what you want cut, what offices you want us to make cuts in, and then whenever they come back, stand with us, whether we get sued or whether they want to put back in there. That's all I'm asking for y'all. And I promise you, we will do whatever y'all ask us. I promise you we will.
Ms. Judy,
We have 6 fee officials that turns fees over to lands. If they turn enough fees over to fund their office, a judge is going to give them whatever they ask for. That's just the way it is.
I would like to say something. I don't want to come back, it's not going to come back to my office, the office is not, but we got employees, and work in our jail, and I know they choose to work there, they go there and take custody, and they deal with people with hepatitis and every other disease in this world, and fights and everything else, and they go more, a lot of places make comments, I know they go to Chick-fil-A and make more money. And every jail in this state is dealing with that, but it's going to be the same thing as Tim said, and it has happened in this state. When we get to a certain number of CEOs that we can't hire, it's not going to work. It'll start $14, $15, they'll start making us little minimums. And you're going to spend that $98,000 in 2 or 3 months to pay another jail, because it don't matter at that point. Madison County said, we're going to charge you $100 a night to help these inmates, we're going to pay, whether you want to or not. And it's just that simple. And I agree, you got to come there and tell us to move them inmates, we're fixing to move.
If we was not using ARPA money, we might be facing a property tax increase. We might be facing, I'm not gonna say we would, not gonna say we wouldn't, but we would be. That's what we've tried to do, is present a budget. We've tried to present a budget without a property tax increase. We can go back to drawing, board. We can make it, but I just want everybody to know the realistic part of major cuts. We can do it, but y'all have got to stand behind us, and then we've got to run the danger of what's gonna happen then.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'd just like to chime in on the tax part of it. I've been in most of the budget committee meetings. Their primary objective was not having a tax increase this year. Their primary objective is, if you sit in the meetings, you understand they do care about Chester County. It's their money too. They don't want a tax increase. But property taxes is the largest local revenue for the county. We'll collect around $6 million this year in property taxes. The tax rate, and a lot of people come in every year and say, well, why do my taxes go up? I realize we added the fee last year, but the tax rate has not gone up in 6 years on the property taxes. A lot of people don't realize that. They just go from year to year thinking the taxes go up. That's not the case. I don't know what else, what other service, what other product that you can purchase for the same amount of money that you have for the last 6 years. And even this year, when they had other options, they didn't raise the tax rate. They lowered it because of the reappraisal. Another office can tell you about that. But they dropped the tax rate amount to the amount that's bringing in basically the same amount of money that it did last year. Some people pay a little more, some people pay, it's not exact. But that budget committee has worked hard. And I agree with Commissioner Crowe. Last year, the budget committee met, and they interviewed officials, and they cut. And then you come back and you do give certain officials what they wanted. You've got a budget committee for a purpose, and if you're just going to throw out the recommendations, I don't know why you want to have them anyway. So that's just my thoughts on the property tax side of it. I don't deal with the finance part of it, like the finance and budget office does. But we can talk figures all day long if you want to, away from here, but that's just not my idea, not figures.
Ms. G.
I have a question for Greg Smith or anybody. Why would you want to increase property taxes when you've got $885,000 CD in the bank? You've got $3.3 million in COVID money that we county general suffered a loss on. Why not use some of that money? Why would you put a property tax on people when we have all this surplus money?
I'm not asking to put a property tax on people. We did give everybody an $84 increase last year, and I hate to think that we now still can't balance the budget.
A what? We give what?
The fee, the solid waste fee went on last year.
The fee? Yeah,
The
that's.
fee went on, property tax. on
Yeah.
bills. Okay? Now, all I'm saying is, if we don't show enough revenue to cover expenditures, something has to give eventually. That's what I'm pointing out. And I hate to see us spend money that Dixie Youth and the ag people and the library and got to do something for election commission. We have all this stuff we were going to be doing. Now it looks like it's going to wind up being spent in county general.
When they say you have to pay in revenue, the $885,000 CD in the bank, along with the fund balance, is more than enough to cover what we need.
Well, the $885,000 we did say would be spent for capital projects.
That's right, you have it in reserve,
Okay.
but if you need it, why would you tax people when you have that you can use?
I'm not wanting to tax people.
That was the whole budget meeting too. Two things that make the general fund go up a little bit this time too is the zoning officials' budget had to be put in the budget this year. Has that not been in the
It was
budget?
in last, part of it. We don't have to have the increase.
Right. But it went up, and then the budget committee decided the county and budget director's position had always been paid partially out of general fund and partially out of solid waste. We moved all that to general fund. That made that be much easier for coming out of one paid, it's not coming from two areas. So you do have an increase in your general fund, some because of those two things.
This you know, I've had this conversation, this is the one conversation I have with her, how the sheriff funds his money, or each clerk, Stacy, I never get in their business. If I want to run the sheriff department, run the sheriff, I don't want to. We'll do a good job, Sheriff. And I agree with what, Mr. Crowe has said regarding the budget. It's difficult, ain't nobody has wasted a bunch of money, I don't think that. And as he said eloquently a moment ago, I've heard a lot of people over here talk about all this stuff, but everybody wants to talk in general, they don't want to say, well, send her up. And that's kind of the way I am about things. If you want to man up, point, and say, I want that position to be in it. Otherwise, don't be this money out behind the scenes. But here's the deal. I just want to point out the reality. This is kind of what Mr. Smith is pointing out. With revenue on a penny, it's going to bring in 32.5 basically. After it brings after delinquencies, 31. Anytime you have a tax rate that doesn't support what you're bringing, what you're spending, your expenditures next year are not going to go down, they're going to go up each time. And we do have, as she's pointed out, we've got the money left over. It's all the building, everybody calls it all the nursing home, it's all the building. So, and, but when this, if we pass this as it is, it's okay, but we need to be aware that $800-something, probably won't use all of it, probably gonna use about a half of it. But you're gonna, if you really want to man up, pay for now what we are expending. You gotta put about 15 cents on this tax rate. Otherwise, we're kicking the can, we're using funds, and then you might have all the funds to do it next year. But at some point, that money's gonna run out. And you're gonna have to,
It won't be
pay the
sustainable.
fiber, and you're gonna have to raise the tax rate. It won't be 15 cents then.
It's not sustainable like it
Exactly, which is, we got that problem in Washington.
is. Yeah.
And I'm not castigating the big, I think the budget means probably the best thing that we can take this is, and I think y'all have gone over it at 4%, I get it. But the inflation running about probably 10. And so they're gonna lose money this year, every one of us. That's true of these folks too. And so we just need to be aware, if we pass it, which is fine, I get mad about it, if you want to eat into that, and you know it's election year, I get that. And that's not a point to make. We got both candidates here, both of them have gone through the similar things. Right? But we need to be aware that when we pass this, we kick the can next year. And at some point, somebody's going to have to pick up that 15-cent can.
This budget meeting is always open to the public. Always. I mean, you know, everybody comes and gripes and lays hell, but they don't come to the meeting. But it's always open to the public. Back to, we're asking for approving the county general. Yes, sir.
The 5.25% pay raise for, is that mandated by the state? So the state's not looking to fund the county. But
That's always an amendment.
So who sets the pay rate for the county?
They're based on population. All county officials across the state, their pay is based on population.
So we can't cut the pay by 10% in terms of five. So if the county officials there in 5.25 are so heartbroken over the people in that 30,000, why do we provide a
medical costs for these people?
Now, all county boards get insurance.
Do they pay their own?
They pay a portion.
So why would they pay all of it to consume that 5.25%?
They can't pay all of it, that's gonna be an increase.
No, I'm not saying the county pay all of theirs. I'm saying for the officials pay all of their own policy. And we take that money away from the 5.25.
That
We also went on her privilege.
you didn't have a chance to answer the question. I can't control what those officials do with their money, and we cannot make them, well, now listen to you, we did not make them do that. There's two officials, the next official and the press official in this room right now, I'm gonna give credit, and I'm not criticizing anybody. In 2008, 2009, somewhere in those years, where the county had property tax increases back two years in a row, we gave no COLA, none whatsoever. And the elected officials got a state mandated COLA. Two people, took that to heart so much that the people that worked under them was not getting the raise they was. At the end of the year, they wrote back checks for their raise. And that was the mayor, Steve, and Sheriff Wicker. So they have done it. Now, but we cannot control what they do with the pay. I get it, I hate it as bad as you do, but it's not about hurting anybody, so we don't have that control.
Tim, I think he's saying.
I'm trying to figure out where to put this 5.25%. So I'm sure that, Mayor is going to get a 5.25% raise. If he pays 50% of his health care, why don't he step up and pay 100% of his health care? Even if he has to write a check back to the county.
They can do that.
So if we feel so soft-hearted for the lower paid people, let's, the top guys step up and pay their money back to the county. If we gotta put it in a general fund, and at the end of the year, if we got $500,000 in there, we split it among all the $30,000 people that we're so concerned about, and give them a bonus check. Or put it back to the general fund that we're already $1 million short on.
That would be up to the elected officials to do it. Maybe the law would answer that question. I don't know that we can the county commission mandate that?
I'm not asking mandate because I know we can't do that. But if we're so soft-hearted, and we step up on our own with it,
That would be their decision.
I pay $200 a week for health care. I work in the private sector, I realize I don't work for we people. And I like some clarification on the ARPA money. We're gonna put 100% of that $3.5 million into a fund that the commission will decide later, correct?
That's what we've already voted.
Yeah, I know, but what the clarification of how much we can put into that fund?
They all.
Oh, okay.
And answer some of that, I kind of look at the attorney here on this, but I'm pretty sure, regardless, just to give you an honest answer about the health care. What an individual is what they want to do, as far as county official, I wouldn't tell them with their money. But with regard to the county government, I'm pretty sure that anytime you have a retirement plan or a health care plan, those things fall under federal laws. Whatever you do for one, you don't have to do for everyone. That get more stuff on this.
Can you give some, figure what that 5.25% is going to raise the budget of?
It is $43,802. That's what for the constitutional elected officials. It would cost $43,802.
So is this a yearly thing with the state mandates, or is this a?
How they do their mandates is some years they may not do it, some years they do. I've seen them not do it some years, and I've seen them come in and do 6, 7, 8%. If they skip a year or two, they're gonna make it up a little bit later on. But we have no control. And I don't believe it's necessary, we've always argued about the mandates.
Mr. Kelsey, the CCAS, he can answer.
It's based upon the average raise given to state employees in the prior year. So a county official is going to get a raise that is the average raise given to state officials in the prior year. The maximum percent is 5% in any given year. So last year, state employees got 6.18%, I believe, as an average increase in their rate of pay. officials for this upcoming year will get a 5% increase in their pay. Our website has salary schedules listed on there. We have the letter from the Department of Finance Administration that lays out the average raise that a state employee received in the prior year, and it breaks down by classifications what each employee, or what each official rather, should make in each of those. There are minimums. There are some counties that pay their officials in excess above the minimum. Chester County, to my knowledge, does not pay above the minimum. So every time you have that state mandated increase, you have to go up by that average amount that the state employees received in the prior year, unless it exceeds 5%.
Point out that here in the two districts, I think the actual county employees is like $85,000, $9,000.
$97,995 to pay for additional.
Less than 150 combined. And we got $500,000 at least problem. So if you eliminated all of it, if it's legal, you still have $350,000 problem at minimum.
Yeah, but you don't have,
Because once you raise somebody's pay,
that's it forever. It just keeps going. You never raise it. That's the way companies have done things for years.
Back to the agenda at hand, we have, we're asking for the approval of the county general budget.
Can I say one thing before we,
Yes, sir.
it seems to me like talking about raising, tax rates and everything down the line. And at the same time, in this budget, we have raises in here for employees, which I'm sure everybody's hurting when they pull up to a gas pump and have to fill the car up, pull a $100 bill out and pay for it. But on the other hand, it's hard to go to the community and say, well, I voted on this budget and have a raise in there for all the employees and the county officials and everybody. So is this a good time for that, since we're talking about raising taxes? I'm not for raising taxes, especially since we're using this COVID money. It'll run out sooner or later, but you cross that bridge when you get to it. The cuts have got to be made somewhere. That's it.
With inflation like it is, gas prices, and go to the grocery store. My wife went to the grocery store today, and she spent probably 30% more than what she usually does. I don't think this is a good time for a tax raise.
We're not raising any taxes.
No, I know that. I know that the employees, I know they hurt when they pull up to a gas pump. I know they like to have a raise and everything, they'll get one fast.
Yes.
I'm
I mean,
just saying.
the economy and inflation and everything is going up, and it's mandated for the elected officials. And this is asking for a raise. It is put in there for 4% for all county employees.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
We do have a motion by Ms. Ann Moore to approve the county general. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Diane Jordan. Since there's been plenty of discussion, let's have a roll call.
Johnny Garner,
Yes.
Jerry Love,
Yeah.
Kevin Coffey,
No.
Al McKinney,
Yeah.
Andrea Holly,
Yes.
Jackie Butler,
No.
Ann Moore,
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Russell, Jerry Emerson,
Yeah.
Sandra Hyer,
Yes.
Barry Smith,
No.
Jim Crow,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Alexander,
Yes.
Terry Bell,
Yes.
Todd Lewis.
Yes.
All right, 13-3. Carries.
Next on the agenda, approval for the library budget.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Tim Crowe, second by Commissioner Sandra Hires. Any discussion on the library budget? If not, roll call, please.
Johnny Garner,
Yes.
Terry Lowe,
Yeah.
Kevin Faulkner,
Yes.
Al McKinnon,
Yeah.
Andrea Hall,
Yes.
Jackie Butler,
Yeah.
Dan
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Jerry Emerson,
Yes.
Sandra Hires,
Yes.
Barry Smith,
Yes.
Tim Crowe,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Alexander,
Yes.
Terry Bell,
Yes.
Todd Lewis.
Yes.
16.
Next on the agenda, we have the approval of the solid waste budget.
I make a motion to approve solid waste.
We have a motion to approve the solid waste budget by Ms. Andrea Holland,
Second.
second by Mr. Kevin Faulkner. Any discussion about the budget for the solid waste? If not, roll call, please.
Johnny Garner,
Yes.
Terry Lowe,
Yeah.
Kevin Faulkner,
Yes.
Al McKinnon,
No.
Andrea Hall,
Yes.
Jackie Butler,
No.
Ann Moore,
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Jerry Emerson,
Yes.
Sandra Hires,
Yes.
Barry Smith,
Yes.
Tim Crowe,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Alexander, Terry Bell,
Yes.
Todd Lewis. Yes. 14-2. Motion carries.
Next on the agenda, we have the approval for the drug fund budget.
Motion to approve.
With the motion approved by Commissioner Tim Crowe. We have a second by Commissioner Mike Alexander. Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Johnny Garner,
Yes.
Terry Lowe,
Yes.
Kevin Faulkner,
Yes.
Al McKinnon,
Yes.
Andrea Holland,
Yes.
Jackie Butler,
Yes.
Ann Moore,
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Jerry Emerson,
Yes.
Sandra Hires,
Yes.
Barry Smith,
Yes.
Tim Crowe,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Alexander, Terry Bell,
Yes.
Todd Lewis. Yes. 16.
Next, we have the approval of the general debt service budget and all other budgets.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Tim Crowe. Second by Commissioner Jerry Emerson. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Johnny Garner,
Yes.
Terry Lowe,
Yeah.
Kevin Faulkner,
Yes.
Al McKinnon,
Yes.
Andrea Holland,
Yes.
Jackie Butler, Ann Moore,
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Jerry Emerson,
Yes.
Sandra Hires,
Yes.
Barry Smith,
Yes.
Tim Crowe,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Mike Alexander,
Yes.
Terry Bell,
Yes.
Todd Lewis.
Yes.
16-4.
Next on the agenda, the approval for the highway budget.
Terry, make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Al McKinnon, second by Commissioner Johnny Garner. Any discussion on the highway budget? If not, roll call, please.
Johnny Garner,
Yes.
Terry Lowe, Kevin Faulkner,
Yes.
Al McKinnon,
Yes.
Andrea Holland,
Yes.
Jackie Butler,
Yes.
Ann Moore,
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins,
Yes.
Jerry Emerson,
Yes.
Sandra Hires,
Yes.
Barry Smith,
Yes.
Tim Crowe,
Yes.
Diane
Next, we have the approval of the school budget.
Make motion to approve the school budget.
We have a motion to approve the school budget by Commissioner Jerry Anderson. We have a second by Commissioner John Garner. Any discussion about the school budget?
Your school budget has been passed by the school.
School board, yes. And approved by you,
And by the
by
budget.
the budget committee.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Johnny Garner.
Yes.
Jerry Love.
Yes.
Kevin Faulkner.
Yes.
Al McKinnon.
Yes.
Andrea Holland.
Yes.
Jackie Butler.
Yes.
Ann Moore.
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins.
Yes.
Jerry Emerson.
Yes.
Sandra Hires.
Yes.
Barry Smith.
Yes.
Tim Crow.
Yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Mike Alexander. Gary Bell.
Yes.
Todd Lewis.
Yes.
16.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the approval of the Board of Zoning Appeals to be paid equal to a standing committee of the county for its past meetings, which they have had 4 meetings that they haven't been paid for. That is one other thing that is in the, budget, an estimated for them in the budget, which they haven't been paid at all for their meetings. And that is the Board of Zoning Appeals. And that would be them getting paid for $75 per meeting.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Mike Alexander.
That's okay.
We have a second by Commissioner Ms. Carolyn Higgins. Any discussion? If not, we need to vote. All in, that's money. Roll call, please.
Johnny Garner.
Yes.
Jerry Love.
Yes.
Kevin Faulkner.
Yes.
Al McKinnon.
No.
Andrea Holland.
Yes.
Jackie Butler.
Yes.
Ann Moore.
Yes.
Carolyn Higgins.
Yes.
Jerry Emerson.
Yes.
Sandra Hires.
Yes.
Barry Smith.
Yes.
Jim Crow.
Yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Mike Alexander.
Yes.
Terry Bell.
Yes.
Todd Lewis. Yes. 15-1.
Next on the agenda, we need to approve and adopt the Educational Support Program for the State Department of Health employees to be paid by the Chester County, and then after that, it's reimbursed by the state of Tennessee. This was sent out in all the packets. Any discussion about it?
This is for county employees?
Yes, this will be for the county health employees out here, if they want to further their education. The county pays for it, but then it gets reimbursed by the state for it.
Make a motion to approve, Chairman.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Al McKinnon, and a second by Commissioner Jackie Butler.
Do they have to pass the courses and get reimbursed? Have to be average, so if they don't make it be average, then we don't, we wouldn't look at it.
Sure. Is Miss
Says maintain is to be average.
Emily here?
Says maintain is to be average.
They had to drop out, I guess.
You want to wait for an answer on that, or?
I'll make a motion to wait till.
Okay. Yes.
You got a motion for a second.
Okay.
They would have to rescind the motion.
Okay.
Al McKinnon and Jackie Butler.
Al McKinnon, Jackie Butler, y'all want to rescind your motion? And second?
What's the motion there?
About adopting this, because we can't answer the question that Ray Smith and the director of the health department is not here available at this time.
Just refer to
the health department, is that correct?
If it's paid by the state, it's supposed to be reimbursed to the county.
Right.
And had to pay it. And Commissioner Smith said if they didn't maintain that, would the county be out that money? And I told him, I wasn't for sure, but I can check with the director. But that would be waiting on the answer or the vote for this. All right, we have a motion and a second, so we just, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? If not, we will find the answer, and I'll discuss the answer. I would like to appreciate everyone for working on this budget. We've had multiple meetings, and I know all county officials have really did their best and worked with each one. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone. Next on the agenda, we have the approval of the new budget director for year 22, 23, and hopefully for them for a while. To discuss this, we have the budget director, Mr. Tim Crowe.
Part of the duties of the budget committee this year not only was working on this budget, but we had Judy announce her retirement effective April the 3rd. Judy did hang around and help us with this, and I appreciate her doing that. I appreciate Kelsey. Kelsey helped us a lot, because there was a lot of times that we met that Judy could not be there, that nobody knows she's had some, her mom has some bad health problems. She's missed a lot. We probably met more this year than we have the past 3 years combined. I lost count how many times we met. But going through trying to put the budget together, we also had to go through trying to find, I'm not going to say replacement, we had to find someone to fill the spot that was being vacated by Judy. We put it out to advertise, but we advertised it locally, we advertised it statewide. We interviewed 2 candidates. Both were excellent. We were very grateful for the 2 candidates that we had. I don't think we could have had 2 better people to apply for. It was a very hard decision on who we was going to recommend. The budget committee recommends Mr. Gary Irwin to start. I think he can start July the 1st, and he will be the new county budget and county director if this commission approves it. And so that's who the budget committee requests tonight. He currently works for Madison County Sheriff's Department. He is their budget director. He's been a CPA over the years. He's worked with auditing. He's got a resume along with his table. If anybody has any questions, he's here. He can answer them better than I can. But he would be, I will make a motion that we approve him for the position of director of county and budget for Chester County starting July 1. His salary will be starting at $65,000 per year, and he would receive a $2,000 increase once he receives his CCFO, which he has 18 months to complete that. And he lives in Chester County, so he already abides by the relocating policy here.
Hey, stand up, let's look at it.
You can't miss him, he's tall.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I put that in form of a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to approve the new budget directed by Commissioner Tim Crowe and seconded by Commissioner John Garner. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. I appreciate everyone being here. I'm glad we worked through this